Today we're going to be talking about Syrinx by Claude Debussy. Most of you may know this piece, but it's one of the most popular and famous solo repertoire pieces for flute. However, you've probably heard a lot of different recordings and a lot of different interpretations. I would encourage you to, when you start learning this piece, to think about what you see on the page versus what you're hearing. The most important thing that you want to do as you start this piece is to understand the rhythm and subdivisions. Debussy wrote the rhythms for a reason, however, left the solo up to the performer's interpretation. So I think the most important thing that you want to do is think about the 16th note subdivision as you learn this piece. So I'm just going to demonstrate a couple of different ways that you can practice this. In particular the opening, because that passage comes back quite a bit, and we're going to break it down into 16th notes. So if your tempo is 1, 2, 3, we're going to do that in subdivided 16th notes. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate that in the first measure. I'm going to be breaking down the dotted 8th note into 3 16th notes, and then those two smaller notes are 32nd notes in the end of the first beat. So I'll demonstrate that for you. So once you break everything down into 16th notes, you can really hear the accuracy of the rhythm. Okay, so this time you want to do without breaking it down, but I want you to think about those 16th notes subdividing in your head as you play the opening. So that's probably nothing like you hear on a recording, but that is the accurate counting version and subdivided version of the opening. So if you scan through the rest of the piece, you see this passage a couple of different times. So the first two measures, then in measure 3, you have it again. And then if you jump down to the 4th line, you have it again there. So just understanding those subdivisions is really going to help you get through this entire opening rhythmically accurate. Once you have the rhythmic accuracy, you'll actually feel more comfortable taking rubatos throughout the whole piece. So just scanning ahead, a lot of that is very applicable throughout the entire first page. We do have some triplets, and if you look in measure 4, we have triplets starting on the second half of the second beat. So here you can think about changing your subdivided beat into an 8th note. So I'll demonstrate measure 4 by subdividing within the 8th note. So your tempo is 1 and 2 and 3 and. So if you look at the triplets, they all fall on either the and of 2, the downbeat of 3, or the and of 3. Okay, and for now, we're not going to do any grace notes. So here is measure 4. So in measure 4, I broke it down to the 8th note. Do that one more time. So between the 8th note subdivision and the 16th note subdivision, you'll get much more rhythmic accuracy throughout the entire solo. Looking ahead, page 2. This is where we start to get longer values of notes. However, we still want to think about our beat and our subdivision. So I would advise, starting on the second measure of the second page, to really think about your tempo using a metronome and really working on your triplets to fill out your quarter note beat. I would definitely leave out the grace notes. So I'll just demonstrate at this tempo. Triplet, triplet, triplet. So it's a pretty slow triplet. And then in that second measure of page 2, we also have a quarter note and then an eighth note. So we'd count it like this. Triplet, 2, 3, and... Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate for you. And then going on, we have more triplets. So I'll demonstrate 2 measures for you. Okay, I'll try that one more time. 2 measures for you. Okay, and then the 4th measure of page 2, we have triplet, 2, and 3, and I'll demonstrate that for you. And then I'll demonstrate 2 measures for you. So even though this piece is quite a difficult piece rhythmically, if you do the homework, it's actually not as hard as you think. However, if you're only listening to the piece, you may get a little bit confused as to what's going on. So like I said from the beginning, you want to approach this piece from a rhythmic standpoint, do all your homework, rhythmically speaking, do all the subdivisions. And then once you really understand the rhythm, then you're able to do some rubatos and not feel like you're guessing as far as rhythm goes.